Hi, I'm Victor Magallanes, and my topic is all about introduction of organization development in global settings. In every region of the world, the OD is now being practiced as the global expansion of many organizations. In this report, we will discuss about how OD works in global settings and what its purpose. As we all know, OD is the practice of plan, systematic change in the beliefs, attitude, and values of employees for individual and company growth. But what are the effects of OD in global settings? Number one, the rapid development of foreign economies. Number two, increasing worldwide ability of technical and financial resources. And three, emergence of global economy. Globalization is a big factor when it comes to economic growth. We share things to other countries but still limited prior to our territory and privacy as a nation. Let's tackle about cultural context. Researchers say that using OD requires a cultural context to prepare a place for change because OD takes into account the values that people have in an area. This will inform people about behaviors that are important and acceptable in their culture. Cultural values play a major role in shaping the customs to phenomena having to do with power, conflict, ambiguity, time, and change. In designing and implementing plan change for organizations operating outside the United States, OD practice must account for two important contingencies: alignment between the culture values of the host country and the traditional OD values, and the host country's level of economic development. Here we have a graph of cultural values and organization customs. As you can see, these are the values, the content, power, distance, and their definitions. And their organization's custom when the value is at one extreme, and the representative countries. What do we mean power distance in OD in our topic? This value concerns the way people view authority, status differences, and influence patterns. People in high power distance regions, such as Latin America and Eastern Europe, tend to accept unequal distribution of power and influence, and consequently autocratic and paternalistic decision-making practices are the norm. Uncertainty avoidance. This value reflects a preference for conservative practices and familiar and predictable situations. People in high uncertainty avoidance regions such as Asia prefer stable routines over change and act to maintain the status quo. They do not like conflict and believe that company rules should not be broken. In regions where uncertainty avoidance is low, such as in many European countries, ambiguity is less threatening. Achievement orientation. This value concerns the extent to which the culture favors the acquisition of power and resources. Employees from achievement-oriented cultures such as Asia and Latin America place a high value on career advancement, freedom, and salary growth. Organizations in these cultures pursue aggressive goals and can have high levels of stress and conflict. Individualism. This value is concerned with looking out for oneself as opposed to one's group or organization. In high individualism, cultures such as the United States and Australia, personal initiative and competitiveness are valued strongly. Organization in individualistic cultures often have high turnover rates and individual rather than group decision-making process. Conversely, in low individualism, countries such as China, Japan, and Mexico, allegiance to one's group is paramount. Organizations operating in these cultures tend to favor cooperation among employees and loyal to the company. Economic development. Economic development is a critical component that drives economic growth in our economy, creating high-wage jobs and facilitating an improved quality of life. In addition to culture context, an important contingency of affecting OD success internationally is a country's level of industrial and economic development. For example, although long considered an industrial economy, Russia's political and economic transformation and the concomitant increases in uncertainties over infrastructure corporation, cash flow, and exchange rates has radically altered assumptions underlying business practices. Thus, economic development can be judged from social, economic, and political perspective. How cultural context and economic development affect OD practices or OD practice. The contingency of culture context and economic development can have powerful effects on the way OD is carried out in various countries. They can determine whether change proceeds slowly or quickly, involves few or many members, is directed by hierarchical authority or by consensus, and focuses on business, organizational, or human process issues. These are the contexts that can affect the economic development in OD practices. Number one is low cultural fit, moderate industrialization. This context is least suited to traditional OD practice. It includes industrializing economies with cultural values that align poorly with OD values, including many Middle East nations such as Iraq, Iran, and the United Arab Republic. The South Pacific region, including Malaysia and the Philippines, and certain South American countries such as Brazil, Ecuador, Guatemala, and Nicaragua. Second context is high cultural fit, moderate industrialization. This international context includes industrializing economies with cultures that align with traditional OD values. Such settings support the kinds of OD processes described in this book, especially structural and strategic intervention that focus on business development. According to data on economic development and cultural values, relatively few countries fit this context. India's industrial base and democratic society are growing rapidly and may fit this contingency similarly. Similarly, South America's recent political and cultural changes make it one of the most interesting settings in which to practice OD. The third context is low cultural fit. but high industrialization. This international setting includes industrialized countries with cultures that fit poorly with traditional OD values. Many countries in Central America, Eastern Asia, and Eastern Europe fit this description. Reviews of OD practice in those regions suggest that planned change includes all four types of interventions described in this book, although the change process itself is adapted to local condition. Our last context is about high culture fit and high industrialization. This last setting includes industrialization countries which with cultural context that fit well with traditional OD values. Much of the OD practice described was developed in this situation, particularly in the United States. Worldwide organization development. It is an important trend facing many business firms is the emergence of global marketplace, driven by competitive pressures, lowered trade barriers, and advances in information technologies. The number of companies offering products and services in multiple countries is increasing rapidly. The organizational growth and complexity associated with managing worldwide operation is challenging. Here are the four worldwide strategic orientation. Number one is the international. The characteristic of international design is to sell existing product, service, or to do some services to non-domestic markets. And second is goals of increased foreign revenues. As we all know, by supporting some our products tend to grow the economy, uh, and implementing the international orientation is the OD facilitates extending the existing strategy into the new market and cross-cultural training and strategic planning. Second is global strategic orientation. This orientation exists when the need for global integration is high, but the need of local responsiveness is low. The global orientation is characterized by a strategy of marketing of standardized products in different countries. It is an appropriate orientation when there is a little economic reason to other products or services with special features or locally available options. The characteristic of the global design, the global of efficiency dominates this orientation. Production efficiency is gained through volume sales and a small number of large manufacturing plants, and managerial efficiency is achieved by centralizing product design, manufacturing, distribution, and marketing decision. Implementing the global orientation or the interventions can be used to refine and support the global strategic orientation, as well as assist in the transition from an internal national orientation. By implementing the global orientation, OD supports career planning, role clarification, employee involvement, conflict management, and senior management team building to help achieve improved operational efficiency. Uh, Also, OD helps the organization transition to global integration from local responsiveness. Next is the multinational strategic orientation. How does it works? This strategic orientation exists when the need for global integration is low, but the need for local responsiveness is high. It represents a strategy that is conceptually quite different from the global strategic orientation. The characteristic of multinational design is characterized by a product line that is tailored to local conditions, and it is best suited to markets that vary significantly from region to region or country to country. Its characteristic of the characteristic of the multinational design is uh, it operates a centralized organization and goals of local responsiveness to specialization.